Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Mental breakdown is done and out of the way, so we have to preview some games on Sunday. So with that, we got two games on tap. We've got Jacksonville traveling to Quad City and Tucson traveling to San Diego. This rounds out week 7, and we've already had some pretty good games, all things considered, throughout the week. Let's hope for two more. So let's go dive in. Alright, so we got two previews to talk about, and we're going to talk about the earlier one. First here, we got a 4 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Yahoo Sports. This is a very crucial game in the Eastern Conference, all things considered, because on the one hand, the 2-1 Jacksonville Sharks taking on the 2-3 Quad City Steamwheelers. If the away team wins this one, they go to 3-1, and that's really good. But then you have Quad City dropping to 2-4, and that is a huge, huge disappointment for, myself personally being the fan, but a lot of other people that had Quad City championship aspirations, deep playoff run, talk of the town, like top team in the East at some point. So, excuse me, this is almost a must-win, can't-lose kind of deal for the Quad City Steamwheelers. They need to get back to 500 and keep pace with the other 4 teams, 5 teams or whatever that are ahead of them, because Tulsa just lost. Spoiler alert, but they just lost and then drops them to 1-3. So, not bottom of the barrel, but if you keep dropping, Quad City, they're going to have to face some adversity, if they haven't already. Talking to our season leaders right here, and again, pictures didn't transfer over. Apologies, but what can you do? James Gahoon, 34 of 54, 462 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Daquan Neal, 71 of 122, 852 yards, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's crazy to think the discrepancies between 2 football games, as Jacksonville's only played 3 and Quad City's played 5. So James Gahoon, all things considered, in just 3 games, having about half of the stats, it's not bad. Jimmy Robinson, 39 attempts, 143 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns, and Daquan Neal, your rushing leader for Quad City, 38 attempts, 216 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. So again, not bad, all things considered. We'll see if there's some running in this game. We'll preview that later on. Receiving leaders, Red Douglas, 9 catches, 146 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. And Kean Williams, 21 catches, 313 yards and 11 receiving touchdowns. He went off, and my goodness, I do apologize about my throat. He went off against San Diego, and if he's not the Triple Crown right now, he's got at least 2 of the 3 categories, but still have the rest of the season to go, so we'll see how it goes. Taking a look at our injury report for both sides here. Something I noticed about, and I know I didn't get the previews out for last week, but something I noticed was Marcus Floyd and Glenn Gibbons were on the injured reserve list for Jacksonville. Those guys were with, I think Marcus Floyd was with, San Antonio, and I think Glenn Gibbons was too, so there might have been a trade. I'm not sure. Maybe it was for Lowell Patron or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, they popped up here, so I'm putting them on here. So we'll see how that kind of goes. If they are part of the team, if they're not part of the team, I'm not sure. But that's what the rosters told me to. So that's what we have for Quad City. Same thing. And that's September 12th. I screwed that up because I have a placeholder text right there. That's all the way back from March 26th or whenever Marquis Whitlock was on there. So yeah, he's been hurt this entire time. I don't know if they're going to release him or however much longer he has on short-term injury reserve before they have to make a decision. Taking a look at our game odds here presented by DraftKings. -5.5 for Jacksonville on the road. So Vegas is thinking that the Jacksonville Sharks are going to win this game and win it not handily, but a little less than a touchdown. Quad City +5.5 at home. We have an over-under of 87.5 and -198 for the Sharks, +164 for the Quad City Steamwheelers at home if you want the home underdog upset, which I don't know if it's an upset, but it's something, man. It's definitely something. I don't know how to kind of go about this game. It's kind of like the Orlando Green Bay underrated rivalry in the sense Jacksonville and Quad City play each other pretty well, all things considered. So for all intents and purposes, man, that's where we have it. We are at Vibrant Arena at The Mark with a 4 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Yahoo Sports Network. Talked about that previously. And our series head-to-head is actually tied. We're tied at 2. Both these teams each have a victory, with Quad City getting the last one in the Eastern Conference first round. They beat the Sharks 57-41. So Jacksonville looking for a little bit of revenge as we just kind of go back and forth here with this little. Do you want to call it a rivalry? Because I know it doesn't always have to be geographic, but I do like the way that these two teams play. Now, granted, it's not going to be the championships, your team sucks, blah, 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 but like a respectable rivalry, maybe. So I think it's kind of cool. But either way, that's where we have it with this. Let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, our bet and prediction, and then we need to go talk about our nightcap. All right. 25-man rosters on the screen here for both sides. And for the Jacksonville Sharks, they've made not that many changes, if any changes at all. And you can say the same thing about Quad City. I think there's only been like one change out of both of these rosters from last week to this week. Now, caveat to this, I have not gotten the updated rosters from the 48 hours. I've gotten the rosters from Friday, but because these teams play on Sunday, that I don't have them updated. So they could change. That's all I'm going to say. So we'll go with it, but as of right now, we'll see what happens. James Cahoon and Sammy Edwards are your quarterbacks. James Cahoon is going to be your starter, and we'll see if there's more goal line packages or red zone packages for Sammy Edwards to get into the game, if they pop him in there or not, but it's been working, so I think they'll probably keep up with it. Jimmy Robinson is your lone running back on the roster, and your wide receivers for the Sharks include Markel Wade, Billy Bowens, Jaden Stoshak, Red Douglas, and Jalen May. My money is on Stoshak, Douglas, and Wade to be your starters, but Bowens and May have played. They do play special teams, and they have made some pretty good catches, all things considered. Excuse me. Brock Beckett, Dante Lucas, Devin Hayes, and Kenny Furman are your offensive linemen, and good correction and catch by Bob last week or 2 weeks ago with Devin Hayes being signed and Chasen Hines refusing to report. So shout out to you, Bob, for catching that. It has been updated there. Defensive line includes Chris Rice, Devontae Davis, Jalen Williams, and D'Amico Rowland. I think it's the top three that get your start. I can't remember if Rowland's gotten into a game in a while. If he has, actually, I think he has. Now that I think about it, anyway, wasting time and trying to think about it all. But yeah, we'll have 3 to 4 linemen there. You'll get your 3 starters, and maybe you get one suited up as your super sub. They don't have a lot of depth there, so it wouldn't shock me if he does suit up. Linebacker is Isaiah Major, and no depth for him unless there's someone in the secondary or the defensive line that needs to suit in there if there's an unsportsmanlike or anything like that. But either way, defensive secondary here for the Sharks: Clay Fields III, John Huggins, Chris Chukwuneke, Dylan Brown, and Aaron Geathers. It's a Chris Chukwuneke revenge game, baby. Former Quad City Steamwheeler going back to the Quad Cities where he played last year, and looking to pick off DeQuan Neal, looking to force some fumbles, looking to do whatever he can. If they put him on Kean Williams or whoever it is, we'll see. Because he practiced against some of these guys last year, like Kevon Rudd and Jordan Vesey, so it's kind of cool. Your starters, I think it's going to be those top 4. And Dylan Brown getting that pick 6 last week. We'll see if it's more of the same, too. Kicker is Mark Orozco, and that's your 25-man roster for your Jacksonville Sharks. Over to the Steamwheeler side of things. DeQuan Neal and Judd Roberts are your quarterbacks. DeQuan Neal getting the start, Judd Roberts being the backup. Running backs, kind of the same thing. Trenton Barnes and Jared Ware. Jared Ware being the starter, Trenton Barnes being the backup. Nothing's really changed in this roster when it comes to that. Wide receivers, they've got the 4. Kean Williams, Jalal Dean, Kevon Rudd, and Jordan Vesey. Williams, Rudd, and Vesey most likely going to be your starters, with Dean being your backup with that. And again, the roster hasn't really changed the starters too much. We go from there, man. Just that's how it goes. Offensive line includes Joe Crowell, Ed Gatling, Matthew Kickle, and Lionel Whittingham. I think it's Crowell, Gatling, and Whittingham being your starters with this. Kickle has played in some games. He's suited up most definitely. We'll see how it kind of goes from there. And for all intents and purposes, they've rotated offensive line just like Jacksonville, just like any team in the Indoor Football League does. They'll have that super sub offensive lineman to come in for a couple of plays and, get some rest for some other guys. To the defensive side, Charles Rosser, David Abler-Renwa, Keyshawn Moore, Chimadunga, and Rashawn Williams. I'm curious to see who gets the starts. I mean, Keyshawn Moore and I think Chimadunga are kind of your mainstays. I think I've mentioned this before. I like what Charles Rosser has, to the table. I have not seen David Abler-Renwa in a couple of games now, so I'm not sure if he's hurt, if the other people have just usurped him. I'm not sure. And Rashawn Williams sometimes starts, sometimes doesn't. I think he's kind of the guy up the middle, so maybe it's between him and Dunga. If Rosser is good to go, I'm not sure. But either way, You got your 5 guys. 4 of them are most likely to play unless they suit up Abel or Renwa. We'll see how it goes. I do apologize about my throat. It is hurting. Alex Harriet is your linebacker. No backup plan for him unless anyone in the secondary drops down. And go from there. My goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. This is bad. Jamon Williams, Caleb Coleman, Kevin Ransom II, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, David Stevens, and Cameron Harrell are your secondary. David Stevens being the only addition. So the thing we have to talk about this, there are 27 players out in Quad City. So that means that something has been updated where someone is either on short-term injured reserve, refused to report, released, or something like that. Or, excuse me, there's 26 players. You need 25. So someone probably in the secondary, unless something else has changed, probably either short-term or something like that. So we'll see who gets the start. We'll see who's hurt. We'll see anything and everything because I can call my picks, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Your kicker is going to be Jan Bogdan, and that is your 25-man roster for your Quad City Steamwheelers. That is your 25-man roster for your Jacksonville Sharks. Now, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction, and we've got one more preview to go after this. All right, so bet and prediction for Jacksonville and Quad City. Minus 198 to the money line for Jacksonville. Now, I know. How are you a Quad City fan and you're always betting against them? It's because I have no hope. I'll let you in on a little secret, guys. I root for the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Kansas City Royals. There is no hope for anything for me when it comes to sports. So I'm sorry, but when a team is 2-3 and has the possibility of going to 2-4 playing a better team, and I'll say it right now, I think Jacksonville looks a lot better than Quad City, all things considered. I think their defense looks better. Their offense plays right into Quad City's weakness. I think Jacksonville's going to take this victory. It's going to be close, don't get me wrong, but I do think Jacksonville pulls this out. To the point I just made, they've been throwing the ball pretty well. They do work Jimmy Robinson out of the backfield. That secondary of Quad City just got gashed for 73 points, and that secondary and that passing attack has been a weakness for Quad City for a long, long time. They can shut it down. I'm not saying like they're getting gashed all the time. There are some stops and turnovers and stuff that Quad City makes, but can they make enough? That is the huge question here. On the flip side, we know that Quad City's offense is lethal. Kean Williams, Daquan Neal, if you can get a game from Jared Ware or Kevon Rudd or something like that, they've had bits and pieces, spurts here and there. I've harped on this because I follow this team closely more than the others. Consistency. Kean Williams has had like one bad game, and by bad I mean he had one catch. They either didn't target him or, they got kind of shut down against Green Bay. Other than that, I mean, just what do you do? So you need someone offensively to step up in this one. I hope it's Jared Ware because then you kind of have a mirror image in the sense of you got a pretty good wide receiving core, you got a really good wide receiver, and I'm using like legend loosely here, but like Markel Wade, veteran legend of the game in a sense. Kean Williams, kind of the same thing. And then you've got that receiving, rushing, running back in Jimmy Robinson and Jared Ware. Now, I know I'm kind of loosely trying to fit these puzzle pieces together, but that's where the offenses could kind of mirror each other. I think it benefits Jacksonville a little bit more. James Cahoon, he will take off and run if he absolutely needs to, but they're going to hand it off to Jimmy Robinson. They're going to do jet sweeps, and they're going to throw it. They're not going to chuck bombs, and that could help out Quad City. They're not going to chuck bombs, but they will dink and dunk on you. So I think that is something that Quad City needs to kind of tamp down. Now, they do have some pretty good tight coverage when it comes to that. They will jam wide receivers in the line, but is it enough to ruin the timing and the chemistry that James Cahoon already has? I don't know. My prediction for this one, 48-45 in favor of the Jacksonville Sharks. Am I surprised if Quad City wins? No. In fact, a lot of people picking Quad City to win. They're at home where they are way better than they are on the road. This is an opportunity for Quad City to kind of get off the mat a little bit. There are games that Quad City is just like completely get away from them. This could be kind of a statement win if they do it. If they do that, they need to stymie this offense of Jacksonville, and they need to continue what they just did against San Diego, because they didn't play a bad game against San Diego. They just ran into a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. Now, that being said, you can say the same thing with Jacksonville and how they played Vegas, but they've looked good against Northern Arizona. They looked good last week. This team is, for all intents and purposes, man, like, I don't want to say peaking at the right time, because it's not the right time to be peaking, but they look good. they look good. And excuse me, what they did against Orlando. I said last week, but against Orlando, excuse me. So, and just using the transitive property here. Quad City can't beat Orlando. Jacksonville beats Orlando. So Jacksonville better than Orlando. Orlando better than Quad City. Therefore, Jacksonville better than Quad City. There you go. There you go. Done. We're done with this preview. Now, it rests on Quad City's defense. Can they get stops? It's as simple as that. And you asked that last week against San Diego. The answer is no. They did get stops against Green Bay, but few and far between. Have there been a lot of stops? There have been some, like I said, some turnovers. The pick six with Keyshawn Moore against Orlando. Kevin Ransom is an interception machine. There have been fumble recoveries. There have been sacks. There have been strip sacks and stuff like that. So it's to that point, to that credit, where if Quad City's defense is on, I think they can win this game. It's up to Jacksonville to exploit it. I think on the other end, like I said, Jacksonville's defense, if they can get pressure onto Quan Neal, Chris Rice needs to have a good game. You need to have Isaiah Major. I was blanking on the linebacker's name. You need to have Isaiah Major getting pressure and really kind of playing the coverage game when it comes to Jared Ware, whether or not he is going out of the backfield, if he's going to mirror him or do whatever. And he's going to maybe play some coverage and play some blitz and see how they can pick that up. So I'm curious to see how that kind of goes, how the trenches kind of hold up for both of these guys, or both these teams, and how it just kind of like parlays into it, man. So I've got Jacksonville winning it because I think that offense plays right into Quad City's defense, and I think it's going to benefit Jacksonville a little bit more. So again, not shocked if Quad City wins. Obviously, it's the emotional hedge. I do want Quad City, but my brain is just not letting me do it right now. They absolutely need to win this. If they go to 2-4, you might need to get that panic button out. You don't press it, but your finger's like right there, like hovering over it. So either way, that's what we have for this one. 48-45 for Jacksonville, minus 198 to the money line. Don't screw this up, Quad City. Don't screw this up. Anyway, we're going to take a look at our final preview for Sunday. Final preview of the evening. Final preview of Week 7, actually. And we've seen some progress with Tucson. They're running into a San Diego team that's flying high right now. We've got the 2-2 Tucson Sugar Skulls taking on the 3-1 San Diego Strike Force. Again, we're on Yahoo Sports, so back-to-back doubleheader on Yahoo Sports. We have a 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff in this Western Conference affair, and yeah, this should be high-flying, man. With Casey Otto maybe getting the start, I think the keys are turned over to him. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. And Nate Davis, Player of the Week, Ernesto Lacayo, Player of the Week, going through all of that. It's we could see some fireworks in this one. But either way, San Diego wanting this one to go forward one and kind of keep pace with Arizona and Vegas. Tucson needing this one to stay above, well, actually go above 500 and make some noise to solidifying that fourth and final playoff spot as we're starting to get closer towards talking playoffs. I know we're about halfway through the season, but the way that the rest of the West is going right now, those four spots could be sewn up sooner than you think. So, take a look at our season leaders here on the left side here. Draylon Ellis is still your leading passer for Tucson, but Casey Otto, with a couple more starts, will probably surpass that in a game or two. But 29 of 59, 330 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Like I said, if he gets the start, you can add to those stats. We'll see how it kind of goes. Otherwise, it's Otto's turn to go. Nate Davis, 75 of 115, 811 passing yards, 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, and 9 of those came in just one game. Leading rushers, Brandon Mackey, 27 rushing attempts, 119 rushing yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns, and Edward Vander, 40 attempts, 164 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. So I think the running game could benefit both these teams here, but we know one team is going to sling it a little bit more than they run it, and, well, I think Tucson might be able to throw it a little bit more as well. Speaking of that, because of that, Javian Lofton, former San Diego Strike Force, 8 receptions, 141 receiving. If he had 400 yards right now, 141 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. Maybe a little bit of a revenge game when it comes to that. And Jalen Sample, 20 receptions, 195 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. Again, pictures dropped out when I exported the files, so oops. Picture their beautiful faces. Taking a look at our injury report for both sides. Again, I want to caveat here, and I kind of mentioned it in the Quad City one. I have not gotten the updated rosters for these two games, so These are subject to change. No changes as of right now to Tucson, but again, people can get taken off of short-term injured reserve and put on there. So as you see it right now, might not be the final. San Diego has updated theirs a little bit, but again, until we know the final, we don't. Dallas Holiday, though, was downgraded. It should say season injured reserve there instead of short-term. I updated the date, but not the status. He is on season injured reserve now. So that's where we have it for our injury report. Taking a look at our game odds here, presented by DraftKings, we have a 5.5 point favorite for San Diego at home. Plus 5.5 for the underdog on the road are the Tucson Sugar Skulls, and we have an over-under of 88.5. Plus 164 to the money line for the Sugar Skulls if you want the away upset, and minus 198 for the San Diego Strike Force. We're seeing a lot of minus 198s this week, but minus 198 to the money line for San Diego if you want the home favorite. We are at the Front Wave Arena in Oceanside, California. Again, game is on the Yahoo Sports Network, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff, and our series head-to-head, almost 2-to-1 ratio here. Actually, it is over 2-to-1. 7-3 in favor of the San Diego Strike Force. Their last meeting, just a couple weeks ago, it was the Strike Force prevailing 48-42. And just in the last couple of weeks, there have been some changes, all things considered. So, yeah, that's where we kind of have it with this one. We need to go take a look at our 25-man roster, which subject to change, and we take a look at our bet and our prediction, and then we'll wrap everything up. We'll get out of here. All right, 25-man rosters on the screen here. We take a look at the away side first. For the Tucson Sugar Skulls, Draylon Ellis and Casey Otto are your quarterbacks. We'll see who gets the start, man. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Casey Otto. He looked a lot better in the last game. Draylon Ellis, maybe a little bit of a learning curve, but he hasn't looked too bad, all things considered. You got to remember he is a rookie, but Otto kind of commanded the offense a little bit in the previous game, so we'll see if it's more of that. To the running backs, Brandon Mackey and Tavion Thomas, and we might have a thunder and lightning kind of punch. And I know that I think that's been mentioned in one of the news articles about the Tucson Sugar Skulls, but I really like the addition of Tavion Thomas coming off of short-term injured reserve, the former Massachusetts Pirate, to kind of go with Brandon Mackey. It's been a really nice 1-2. We're going to get you over the edge with Mackey and then bury it right up the middle with Tavion Thomas. So really, really nice combination there. Your wide receivers include Brian Smith, Jerron Waters, Demisio Ewing, and Javian Lofton. And like I mentioned earlier, kind of a revenge game for Javian Lofton. Now, granted, I did just play a couple weeks ago, so we're going back to San Diego, though. It's a little bit different. To the offensive line, Evan Greathouse, Q Baker, Nashawn Jackson, and Michael Todd Jr. We'll see how it goes. I think Greathouse has been kind of the odd man out with Baker, Jackson, and Todd Jr. being the offensive line, so I think that's going to be more of the status quo as you try and get more comfortable and more chemistry built, more consistency with Otto being the quarterback. To the defensive line for Tucson, Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, Tequays Legs, Deshaun Holt, DeJaimin Brooks, and Isaac Anderson. That's a good defensive line, man. It's kind of a sneaky good one, too, because you don't expect too much. You see a lot of ones in the experience, but Tequays Legs has been really, really good, and Isaac Anderson as well. I mean, those two guys have actually kind of put on a little bit of a show for Tucson. Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, he's still there, man, doing it. Same thing with Brooks. So I kind of like this defensive line. Is it enough to get after San Diego? I'm not sure, but, they did almost beat them a couple weeks ago, so maybe more or less doing the same there. Deshaun Davis and Michael Edwards are your linebackers. I don't know if Michael Edwards is suiting up at all or anything like that. He was activated from the refuse to report, but has not been designated a number to my knowledge. Now, with that, we do have to mention again that these rosters are not finalized. They are subject to change. These are pretty much last week's rosters with maybe an addition or two, so we go from there. Secondary includes Breon Murray, Kendricks Gladney Jr., Amon Lyons, Malik Fleming, and Zachariah Twardowski. They'll probably suit all five of those guys up. One of those will play some special teams and be kind of your backup, but all intents and purposes, they've got a tough job covering the wide receivers of San Diego. Kicker is Kevin Macias, who, for all intents and purposes, man, he can hit it from anywhere and everywhere, so we'll see if it's more of the same, but I think he should have won Special Teams Player of the Week honors last week, but hey, we got to talk about who did win it. So we take a look at the 25-man roster for your San Diego Strike Force. Davis Black and last week's Player of the Week on the offensive side, Nate Davis. I don't know if he can replicate what he did last week, but he's sure as hell going to try, I'll tell you that much. He looked good, and he's already played this team once, and maybe there's some things that he noticed that he can exploit. Kind of see. Running backs include Edward Vander and Tyrell Green. Tyrell Green suiting up again from last week, so if he suits up this week, pretty cool. We'll see how it goes with that. Kind of your 1-2 punch. Vander getting the bulk of the carries. Green, he did get a touchdown last week, so... Your wide receivers include Shane Hooks, Dallas Daniels, Jalen Sample, and Cole Blackman. Now, my issue here is I don't know if Cole Blackman is going to play. We'll see if he does, and good for him if he does, but he hasn't played in the last couple of weeks, so I don't know if he's nursing an injury and just not on injured reserve, or, like I said, if this stuff is subject to change, he might wind up there. But I haven't seen him in a couple of games, so we'll kind of see how it goes with that. But Hooks, Daniels, and Sample have been your mainstays on that wide receiving core. Offensive line includes Christoph Atkinson, Ivory Scott, and Jalen Booth. No depth there, so those are the three guys going to go for it unless something changes. Defensive line, Wallace Cowens, Afanye Maije, Adam Anderson, and Rashawn Yates. 4 guys right there. We'll carry on with it. Someone got released or refused to report. It was Jackson Cravens. So now you go from 5 down to 4, and 3 of them are going to start. One's going to be your backup. My money's on Maije being the backup and special teams guy, with Cowens, Anderson, and Yates, barring any changes with the rosters. Royce C. is your linebacker. No depth right there, so he'll get the go. And in the secondary, Devin Hafford, Herman Smith, William Barber, Trajan Anderson Watts, Jelani Jefferson, and Elijah Reed. So for that, we kind of have, 6 guys? 4 of them are going to start. We'll see if all 6 suit up. I think, did all 6 suit up last week against Quad City? They might have, but regardless, that's still a decent secondary. And they've got the task of stopping the passing attack and what they want to do with Casey Otto and company. And we'll kind of play how it goes here in the next segment. Your special teams player of the week last week, kicker Ernesto Lacayo, and that is your 25-man roster for your San Diego Strike Force, your 25-man roster for your Tucson Sugar Skulls, again, subject to change. Now, with that, we need to go take a look at our bet and our prediction as we just continue on, and then we'll get out of here. All right, so bet and prediction time for this one, -5.5 for San Diego. This is a tough one to call because I do think San Diego is going to win this one. I don't know if they're going to cover. And I've picked enough -198s with Arizona and Jacksonville and things like that this week that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that San Diego covers the spread in this one. They did cover the spread if it was 5.5 2 weeks ago. So they won by 6. There you go. So more of the same here. Let's hope. But they did meet 2 weeks ago, and San Diego did pull out that victory. Now, it was a nice little back and forth affair. Casey Otto is now the starter. It's not a different team, but different in the sense of who's leading Tucson. The issue that I take here, too, is the level of competition. Tucson has 2 wins, and it looks impressive when you look at it as they're 500, but their 2 wins are to New Mexico. And they've played New Mexico fairly close. Now, San Diego has a demoralizing loss against Arizona, which shook off the cobwebs. They've played Northern Arizona close. They've had some close encounters of the third kind, and then they go on a freaking tear and just destroy Quad City. Now, that game was back and forth until late when San Diego just kind of opened it up. But at the same time, they put up 70 points. 70-plus points. I don't know if they're going to put up that many in this one, but I do think that San Diego has a good shot at putting up some points in this. Tucson's defense, we know what they have to do. It's no secret. However, I've said this time and time again, but I need to include this in here. Yes, you need to stop Nate Davis. He is a statue in the pocket. Yes, he has laser reflexes and laser precision when it comes to it. But now you have to look at the running game. Yeah, Nate Davis is a scrambler now. I'm just kidding. Edward Vander has been running really well. And I'm curious to see if there's any way that they get Tyrell Green involved, because he did have a touchdown last week, but it was from the 1 or 2 yard line. So, yeah. But if they do get him a little bit more involved, but Edward Vander in the rushing and receiving game, he's been on a pretty good tear. Not lighting the world on fire, but doing exactly what the offense needs him to do. And then you have Shane Hooks, you have Dallas Daniels, you have Jalen Sample, taking it off the top or doing these crossing routes, these in routes, these slants, whatever the route tree calls for. And Edward Vander is right there along with him. Davis is finding his man. So you have to look at the passing game with Vander, and you have to look at the running game with Vander. Now, to the Tucson side of things, you have to look at Tavion Thomas and Brandon Mackey. I think if Tucson wants to win this game, they need to rely on the running game and keeping it a little low scoring, because you cannot afford to have a 73-point side. I'm sorry, Tucson's not scoring 73 if it comes to that. I like if you can keep it low scoring. You have to kind of dink and dunk your way. if you are Tucson, and take what the defense gives you. And if the defense is going to lock down, you do have a Thunder Lightning combo to get you those short yardage situations with Tavion Thomas, or you can bust it around the edge or some motion jet sweeps if you want to use Brandon Mackey or any of your wide receivers. Defensively, we'll see how it kind of goes, because I think San Diego can lock down on that a little bit more than what Tucson can lock down on. My prediction for this one, 47-40. And I picked this before I even realized what the score was 2 weeks ago, so it's almost similar. But it's 1.5 points past what the spread is. So San Diego does cover the spread. I feel more inclined to go a little under 2 if you want that, because that's right at 87, 88, and it's 88.5. So maybe there's another touchdown and it ruins everything. But I think Vegas, the casino, has just kind of spot on, dare I say. I don't know. I really, really like what San Diego's putting out there. And like I said, they kind of need this game in order to keep pace with Vegas and Arizona, because they are right there with them. If they all go 4-1, getting right up there, we're going to start getting into the meat of the schedule here, where like you're going to start seeing Vegas and San Diego and Arizona and those three teams kind of start playing each other. And like I said earlier, you're going to start seeing the haves and the have-nots kind of separate. We're getting right to that point. So a lot of teams already jockeying for playoff position and kind of those spots. Tucson needs this. They can go 3-2, put a little stamp on their season and say, hey, we can beat more than just New Mexico here. Get above 500. They go 3-2. San Diego goes to 3-2. And guess what? There's your head. Well, actually, it's not a head-to-head because they've already played. But either way, I think they play one more time later on in the season. So that could be the best of 3 series. Now, don't quote me, but I think they play one more time if I'm not mistaken. Now, how we go about that? Oh, but yeah, that's when we start getting into the nitty-gritty of the tiebreakers. But Tucson being 3-2 and San Diego being 3-2, now you've got some competition for that 3rd seed. So we'll see how that goes. But I like San Diego in this one, 47-40. Take them at -5.5 if you want that bet. But we need to wrap everything up now. We need to get out of here. That is it for our preview of our Sunday action. It's been a chaotic week, and I am looking forward to taking just a little tiny bit of a break when it comes to all of this stuff. Again, I don't try and sugarcoat any of this. It sucks. I'm a one-man band doing all of this by myself, and if I miss a day or, just run out of time or anything like that, I don't have an excuse. So I'm not trying to throw the pity card or anything like that, but I will get caught up with all the recaps. I will get caught up. I woke up. I'm kidding you not. I set my alarm for 3:30 this morning to wake up and keep the games on the 12-hour stream on Yahoo, and I watched the 2 Yahoo games from last night. I watched them at 3:30 this morning with Arizona and Tulsa and San Antonio and Northern Arizona. So, yeah, I'm getting right back up on this stuff, man. It's a long grind, but it's not the first time I've had to come back from the dead. I've been sick and counted out and stuff like that before, so what can you do? Anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. I love and appreciate you. Check on each other. Check your mentals. Check your own mentals. Make sure you are doing all right. Check on people. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're really doing, because any of that good bullshit, it's not going to cut it. Ask them how they're really doing. Ask them how they're really feeling and how everything's truly going. No more, I'm doing good. Actually talk to people. It's a lot of fun. You'll be impressed on the amount of things that people want to talk about when you actually get to know them. So either way, I'm taking off here, guys. Love and appreciate you. If you want to, like, comment, share, subscribe. If you don't, cool. But I'll catch you guys on the recaps for this one. I do have one more recap from week 6 to take care of, which I'll get that one out later today. You can watch that if you want or not. But we'll go right into the week 7 recaps and go from there. But until then, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. Till then, see ya.